excellent Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, I go for refuge until enlightenment is on, by the merit of giving and the other perfections. May I attain Buddhahood for the sake of all beings. May all beings be happy and have the causes of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. May they never be separated from soulless bliss. May they dwell in equanimity without attachment and hatred to those near and far. Thank you. And I'm going to share. Yeah, yeah, Teshidele everyone, and a great day to everyone. So today we are going to learn and discuss about four Dharma seals. The four Dharma seals appear in many Buddhist sutras, including Samadhi Rajira Sutra, though things in Japan in Tibetan. And the four Dharma seals are like extremely important because the essence of entire Buddhist view, or like this teaching carries the essence of entire Buddhist view. So yeah, it's not like, so we call the four dharmas. So we call the four dharma seals because generally the seal is used to prove like whether something is genuine, authentic, and unchanged. In the same way, the four dharma seals are like considered the authentic marks of the Buddha's teachings. They express truth and do not change over times. The truth is always truth, which Buddha has expressed. So this is the one of reason why the four Dharma seals are so important. And another one is in Buddhism. Here, here, right? Okay. Another is in Buddhism. There are two ways to define who is Buddhist or what makes Buddhist. The first, from the perspective of practice, a person is considered a Buddhist if they take refuge in three jewels, the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And the second one, from the perspective of philosophy or view, the person is considered a Buddhist if they accept the four Dharma seals, which we also call the four marks of existence. In Tibetan. So these four like seals are all component phenomena are impermanent, all contaminated phenomena are suffering, all phenomena are empty and selfless, and nirvana is peace. So if you guys accept this, you can, I think you are Buddhist. And Tibetan we call Nishe Tamje Mitava Zaje Tamje Dungalo Chu Tamje Tongje Dame Yangan Deva Shiaos. And ultimately, these two defined are not separate. Also, if someone truly understands, accept four Dharma seals deeply, then eventually, like naturally, they are already taken refuge in like Dharma or Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha in their hearts. Because understanding impermanence, reduce attachment, and understanding suffering weaken ego clinging and ignorance, and understanding nirvana gives confidence that liberation and peace are possible. So the four Dharma seals are not merely like philosophical idea to debate intellectually, but they are like practical teaching meant to transform the mind and guide us toward wisdom and compassion and liberation. So today we will reflect on each of these four seals one by one. The first one is Dice tamjimita all component phenomena as impermanent. This teaching mainly mainly refers to the five aggregates, which are the basis of what we call the self or or I. So according to Buddhism, everything that arises due to cause and condition, like everything, constantly change from the very first moment it comes into existence. So nothing stays same. Body changes and our thoughts changes and our emotions change, our relationships change, and society changes. Even mountains and planets change. So the change never stops. Impermanence is simply like natural condition of compounded phenomena. So whether we like or not, nobody can stop changes from changing. This is reality and truth. So this is Dharma seal. Uh, so because of this, Buddhism teaches that we should learn not only understand impermanence like intellectually, but we also to apply, accept it in our heart, impermanent. So however, many people have sort of misunderstanding impermanence. And in the past, and even today, like 1990s, like scholars also, some people think Buddhism is very like pessimistic because it talks so much about impermanence, suffering, aging, sickness, and death. Some people think impermanence only like point to the negative side of life, like loss or separation or distraction. But personally, I think totally different. I believe impermanence is the like actually one of the most beautiful and meaningful aspect of the existence. Before I explain why, like, let me ask a like sort of question. Imagine if everything are like or completely permanent and unchanging, what would the world look like? Yeah. What do you think about the world would look like? So if nothing could change, there would be no growth, no movement, no transformation, and no like new possibilities. So in my understand, all beauty, value, and meaning depend on impermanence. Like growth depends on impermanence, and learning depends on impermanence, and healing depends on permanence. Even love, spiritual awakening, everything depends upon like, impermanence. So without change, the life would like become sort of frozen or lifeless. So let us like take a very simple example. I have one here. Imagine if there is an apple tree in front of your house. So now imagine that the tree is completely permanent and unchanging. If it were truly permanent, it could never grow, right? If it's permanent, it could never grow. And there will be no blossoms in spring. There no green leaves in summer, and no ripened apples in autumn. So the tree would remain forever, like forever frozen in one condition. So if it blossomed once, it would bloom forever. If it never bloomed, it never like could. So the fruits would never ripen, and if and even the apples like somehow exist, nobody could pick or eat them because nothing could change. Yeah, and but yeah, because the tree is impermanent, so it grows from tiny seeds into a like living tree, and it changes through like seasons, and it produces flowers, shade, fruit, and beauty. So because of impermanence, we can enjoy the tree, care for it, and benefit from it. So one day, when the tree become old or like dangerous, it can also decline and return to the earth. So also you can cut it if you don't like it. If it's permanent, you cannot change it, right? You cannot cut, even if you like or not. So impermanence makes all of this possible, and the same the true of our own lives. And when we are children, we want to grow quickly, right? So if the permanence did not exist, a baby would remain a baby forever. And children would never like become adult, and students would never gain knowledge. Sick people never like could never recover, and painful situation could never improve. So even spiritual practice or dharma practice would like become impossible. Why? Because transformation itself depends on upon impermanent, right? And our anger were impermanent, and we could never become peaceful. If our ignorance were impermanent, like permanent, enlightenment would be impossible. If suffering were also permanent, then liberation could never happen. So actually, impermanent give us like about hope. Impermanent give us hope. It means that no difficult situation lasts forever, right? Since it's impermanent, so no emotions last forever, and no problems last forever, no sufferings last forever. So things can like improve because things change, and yeah. So I also think this is a very like beautiful teaching. The impermanent teaching is uh, even like appreciation. Like we have appreciations also depend on upon impermanence. Why do we like cherish beautiful moments? Because they not last forever, right? And the sunset beautiful partly because it disappear, and the cherry blossom are like precious because they blossom for such a short time. And our time with family, friends, loved ones feels meaningful because we know it like temporary. If everything like lasts forever in exactly the same way, there will be no feeling of like preciousness. So life would become, I say, mm, motionless or empty if it's everything permanent. So even money has like value partly because it is limited and it can be exchanged. And everything were like if yeah, everything were like permanent, the unlimited value itself would there's impossible no values. So impermanence is not just about loss, and impermanence is what makes life alive. Uh, and it creates like movement, growth, and creativity and possibility. And from a Buddhist point of view, the permanent is also like a great practice, like allows us to practice Dharma because of the impermanent. Because our minds are impermanent, they can be trained. And because our habits are impermanent, they can change. And because suffering is impermanent, liberation is possible. This is why Buddhism does not teach impermanent to make people like depressed. But the Buddha taught impermanence to help us to wake up to reality and live with wisdom. And when we resist the change, we suffer more. We suffer because if we don't accept. So, but when we understand impermanence, we become more flexible, patient, and compassionate. We stop clinging to like tightly to things as if they will last forever. And we begin to appreciate each moment more deeply. And we become kinder to others because we understand that everyone is changing, aging, struggling, and move through like uncertain conditions. And the most importantly, we gain like confidence that transformation is possible because of impermanence. So for me, impermanence is not like pessimistic at all. And impermanence is one of the greatest source of beauty, meaning, and hope in life because things are impermanent, like seeds can sprout, people can learn, suffering can end, and awakening become possible. This is about the suffering, impermanent. So, do you have any question about impermanent? You want to say something? So now we can move to mm, suffering. As beside the all, it's suffering, right? Yeah. The second Dharma seal is suffering, and Buddha said all contaminated phenomena are suffering, and that mean is like that as long as our mind is like controlled by ignorance or attachment and dualistic grasping, even like pleasant experiences cannot give last like satisfaction or uh, stability. So also in the like teaching of Four Noble Truth, they say the fire gates, even the five aggregates are described as a suffering because they always carry the potential for pain and dissatisfaction and change. Because of this, also many people think the Buddhism or whatever, the teachings of suffering is too negative or too like focused on suffering. And and for me, I see suffering in completely a different way. Uh, I believe suffering is actually one of the greatest energy or power in our life. If we really think carefully, like like every good things in this world, I believe has arisen because of suffering. Uh, like yeah, what would happen if there were absolutely no suffering at all in this universe? So in my view, this the suffering completely, if the suffering completely disappeared, and this samsara itself would stop moving. It stop moving. If there's no suffering, they stop moving. It would be like a car with no fuel. If there's no suffering, so suffering is the energy that keeps being moving, searching, learning, growing, and transforming. Like suffering, as I said, suffering is like a fuel for a car. Uh, it's push us forward in life. Why do people study and why do people work hard? Why do people look for a job or relationship or like a spiritual practice? Because something feels incomplete because there's discomfort, uncertainty, fear, and dissatisfaction. Even something simple like we can like hunger shows clearly that if we never felt hungry, we would never think about food, right? Food. So in the same way, without the suffering of like samsara, nobody would seek liberation or enlightenment. In in this sense, like suffering become the cause that push us forward awakening. Mhm. And I also think the suffering is the um, mm, foundation of love and compassion. Uh, for example, when a baby is born, baby come into this world with nothing, no possession and no power, no ability to survive alone. The only thing baby really has is, I think, the suffering, because the hunger and cold, fear, discomfort, and the ability to cry. So because of the babies suffers, people naturally respond with love and care. So we feed baby, protect the baby, and hold the baby because we recognize that babies, what to call the vulnerability. Yeah. If the baby had no suffering at all, and maybe nobody, I don't know, maybe could pay attention. Or so suffering actually like creates also connection in the same way, and our difficulty can become like opportunity. If we, if we suffering from lack of like something like money or whatever, and that creates motivation to improve our life, whatever, yeah, money or whatever. If we suffer because of like our mind like peace, right? Without peace, that inspire like that can inspire like whatever, or spiritual practice or whatever, like listen to Dharma or whatever. So if we feel pain because we lack like compassion or bodhicitta, that like very like condition, yeah. we beginning of compassion and bodhicitta we're looking for. And also when I like look at our human history, I see that many achievements arose because people faced suffering and problems. I don't know if you guys agree or not. Because like travel was difficult, people invented a car and a ship and airplane. And because like communication was difficult, so people created a phone and a computer. Uh, and because illness and like fear existence like COVID-19, the scientists worked hard for and developed a vaccine. Uh, so so almost every invention or every field of knowledge and every form of progress, I think it began as a response to suffering. Even Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, according to Buddhism, they appear because being suffering, the sentient being suffering. If there are no suffering in samsara, there would be no need for like compassion, no need for dharma, and no need enlightenment, or no need knowledge, or no need car, no need house. So so Buddhism is like not teaching suffering in like order to make people depressed or hopeless. So Buddha teaches suffering because understanding suffering is the like doorway to wisdom or whatever compassion and liberation, whatever good things, ever good things. And Buddhist part is, I don't think like not, I say pessimistic, like I said, pessimistic. Uh, I think yeah, it's more realistic. I said it is realistic, and it teaches us how like understand suffering, transforming or transform suffering, and finally become free from the endless, the spanning samsara. So like samsara is our fuel, and without suffering, then the existence is stop. So what do you guys think about? Do you have any? Do you want to share something? Hey, please. The Mac.
Said about it not being pessimistic but realistic.
Mm.
There's a-
Yes, I think yeah, it's a realistic. Suffering is the realistic. Mhm.
What is this word contaminated? What does that mean?
Zakchi, Zakchi means like oh, I think mind which based on dualistic. It's not uh, stability. Your mind based on instability. So it's easy to fall.
I guess can contrast that with like what's uncontaminated.
Mhm. Uncontent. Mhm.
Like what is opposite of eventually you ask like what is contaminated about like to have not like experience that it's like unstable, so it's like
Mm.
it's gonna fall.
Mhm.
So what I guess what's an example of
And stability or safe security. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. People on Zoom can only hear if you speak into the microphone. So if there's audience, I should have said that at the beginning. If there's audience participation, you could just use the mic. That'd be great. I'll put it over here.
So now we can move to the third one.
He was asking what's uncontent.
Uncontaminated. What uncontaminated is nirvana. Nirvana is the peace. So it's coming. Yeah. And yeah, the third the third one is 去他们这东西当美吧. It means all phenomena are empty and selfless. Yeah, right? Mhm. So this considered we think this is the ultimate view in Buddhism, the emptiness as selfless. Uh, according to Buddhist text, Buddha gave many different teachings for different kind of people. And traditionally, we say Buddha taught 84,000 teachings because beings have many different needs and capacities, or what's a mentality or mind size. So some teachings are called, we call provisional, or what do you call it, interpretative, expedient teachings. And uh, so these teachings are like given to guide people gradually along the path. But teaching on emptiness and selfless are considered definitive teaching. This is the ultimate teaching. So the ultimate truth of how to say how things means the ultimate truth of how things really are. The emptiness means and selfless. So at first the teaching can sound like difficult, even frightening. When people hear the like word emptiness, they sometimes think Buddhism is also saying like nothing exists or nihilism, what do you call nihilism. But this is this is not what like Buddhism and Buddhism means. emptiness does not mean nothing exists, but it means things do not exist in solid or fixed, independent way they appearance to us. According to Buddhism, when things are not carefully examined, if we don't examine, this seems very real and solid. We feel like, oh, this is truly real, this is truly mine, this is truly me. But when we investigate deeply, we cannot find any independent essence or permanent self inside things. So this is, yeah, what the emptiness and selfless. So everything exists dependently through causes, condition, parts, labels, and the mind that designates them. So yeah, yeah, this is the emptiness of, like, for example, they say, like, think everything like, let us think about the things we see, like form, color, shapes. They appear very solid and real to us. But according to middle way teachings, these appearances do not exist exactly. They appear. That is not true. We always get or say, between the colors and shapes, the forms. They are dependently arising like appearances, almost like illusion, or we say dream. So dreams are one big example of emptiness, and illusion also one kind of practice in Buddhism. So like modern optical illusion are actually a very powerful example for things not exist as we see. And sometimes we see movement where there's no movement, and sometimes the two lines appears different length, even they're same equal. So our eyes can deceive us, and sometimes, yeah, this the same as true for sound, eyes and sound. So when we hear sound, music or speech, it feels very real and solid. But science or whatever, every tells us like sound is simply vibration of movement of waves. So likewise, smell, taste, and touch also depend on cause and condition. They are also emptiness. Buddha said when we establish emptiness, like form emptiness, and sound emptiness, or then external water emptiness, and internal water with we call like that. So, so if the object itself lack in independent existence, then we say the consciousness that experiences it must be emptiness. If the external object is emptiness, the mind also emptiness. So there's no reason which is not emptiness. So this is about emptiness. And the selflessness, what does selfless means? Like it means things do not possess an independent or permanent identity from their own side. For example, we say house, car, and book, or person, but they are labelly placed upon like collection of parts. So house is like made of wood, nails, or window, or what is a roof, wall, and many other conditions. So if we remove all parts one by one, there's no house. And the same true for a car. And the textbook also say like in ancient time. And the car is simply like wheel, engine, door, or seats, and many connected parts. But when we when give the collection of the labels, we give the collection the label car. The label is useful in everyday life, but if we search for truly exist car parts from the past, we cannot find anyone. We cannot find like this car. We cannot find except for its parts. So Buddhism say same thing about self now. With self, right? We grasp at the 5 aggregates: body, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness, and we call them I. But if we carefully search for that independent I, it cannot be found. Like, is the body's self, are thought the self, or our emotions are self? So nobody can not find. So we don't say body is my. We say my body, my thoughts, my emotions. So if we remove the aggregates one by one, like the car and the house, so no separate self will remain outside them. So yet, even though no permanent self can be found, we strongly cling to I and my, and this grasping, this grasping become the root of attachment, anger, jealousy, fear, and suffering. From example before we like buy a car, it's before buying a car, like it's just a car sitting in a store or parking lot. If someone scratch it, maybe you feel nothing before you buy it. But some people then maybe do, but yeah. But but the moment you yeah, but the moment you think this is my car, and your relation change completely. So now even a like small scratch can cause anger or sadness. So what changed? The car did not change. Yeah, the car didn't change in any way, but the main change happened in the mind through like attachment and labeling. This is power of, like we call this is power of grasping. And I have a very good number, like good for example, maybe you can see there. So yeah, another like helping for example, like the number. Think about number 1000. So it is written using a 1 and 30, right? One number follow 30. People agree that this is represent 1000. Everybody agree this is 1000, right? But if you search inside, like digit themselves, where's the 1000? There are only how many numbers? And only 5 or 4 numbers. There's no 1000, but yet, yeah, we find, yeah, we will not find a solid 1000 inside the number, but they exist through like designation and collective agreement. So this does not mean numbers are useless, but they function perfectly in our daily life. But their existence is dependent, conceptual, and like how to say designated by our mind. So Buddhism say many things exist in the same way. So you cannot find any 1000 numbers, but I don't know. So yeah, so what do you think about this? Why we think this is 1000? Yes.
Car doesn't exist independently of
Mhm.
parts. It's all of the parts put together to make
Mm.
the car.
Yeah.
Like the 1000 exists, and take the 1, the 0, the 0, the 0.
Mm.
It's all of it.
Yeah. Yeah, like there's no I, we say there's no self, but we agree to say this is self, me, I, like 1,000 number. There's no 1,000. You can't find 1,000 there. Just number of 5. If you find 5, and even you search, you cannot find. But in your mind, already there. So this is like example how we see self. Mhm. Yeah, and then according to Buddhism, the realization, emptiness, and selfless is like essential for liberation or like awakening. Because suffering comes from grasping, and we grasp it like we grasp it ourselves as a solid and permanent, and we grasp it people as solid and permanent, and we grasp it experiences as solid and permanent. And because of this grasping, we create attachment and fear, anger, like what I said before, disappointment. So Buddha taught emptiness not to like confuse us, so but to free us from those um, things. So when we begin to, like loosen our what to say tight grasping or rigid grasping, then the mind become like lighter and more flexible and everything more compassionate. So we stop clinging to so tightly to I and me and mine, and then and gradually suffer the decrease less and less. Yeah. So yeah, this is about uh, uh, emptiness and selfless. Do you have any question, or would you like to share something about this? Like, I don't know.
It should be on. Oh, okay.
So what this moves me to think about is how much we operate by representative phenomenon. I mean, the 1,0,0 represents
Yeah.
what we've learned. I look at the figures. This is not the Buddha, but it represents
Mhm.
the Buddha.
Mhm.
I don't.
Yeah.
So now I'm thinking that, you know, an individual I recognize represents the person I know.
Mhm.
And maybe that's true for ourselves as well. It's what we sense, feel, understand, see.
Mhm.
That those sensations are perceptual pathways to what is represented in the embodiment.
Mhm.
But am I correct in thinking that making the leap that we are not, that does not represent an I? More of a comment
Okay,
than a
thank you.
question.
Thank you.
A
That's a
bewilderment
comment. Yeah,
I'm
thank
putting
you.
before you.
Yeah, I don't know how to say it. What should I say? Yeah, it's a represent. So should I answer or just your comment? Yeah. Okay, so now we mm, yeah, now we can move to the fourth one. The fourth one is what is the word? Yeah, the fourth one is the nirvana is the peace. Yeah, nirvana is we call nirvana is the peace. According to Buddhism, as before the root of suffering is the self-grasping and grasping at things as truly existing and solid. And because we cling to strongly I and me and mine, so afflictive, we call emotions gradually arise in the mind. So from self-grasping comes from, self-grasping come attachment, anger, jealous, fear, or whatever, like pride or hatred. So they are what Buddhism calls like Kelasha, or what is it, and in Tibetan Nyomo. So disturbing emotion or mental afflictions, as long as these afflictions remain in our mind, then our feel sufferings continue. But when the mental defilements are completely purified and the state, like I said, the state right, that remain is called nirvana. So nirvana is which the state without defilements. So and that state is described as peace. We call this is peace. Nirvana is peace. That's why there's no defilements, emotion, and there are no suffering. So this is peace. And not peace in the like ordinary sense or just feeling relaxed for a short time. Maybe this one also one part of like a nirvana, but it deep and lasting, we say, free from mental suffering and confusing. So and in the fundamental Buddhist tradition, nirvana often explained sensation of suffering, the complete ending of the cause of suffering. So in Mahayana Buddhism, little bit different. Nirvana is explaining more deeply through realization of Buddhahood and the three kayas or three kaya, right? Three bodies or three kayas. So the realization comes through gathering the two accumulations we call tsoni, the accumulation of wisdom and the accumulation of merit, while gradually removing those two obscuration, there are also two obscuration, dubani, and the afflictive obscuration and the cognitive, I don't know what that's correct, cognitive obscuration. Oh yeah, conceptual, the dubani, yeah, yeah. We the realization like three kayas come from through gathering, to accumulating, and the how to say the removing two obscurations. So when these obscurations are fully purified and enlightened, the quality of Buddha naturally manifest. So I can tell a little bit about the three kayas. Like to explain these three kayas, three bodies, we can use example of like sun. First is the Dharma kaya, the truth body. This is the like ultimate nature of reality itself, beyond say conceptual or beyond the limitation, completely pure and open. But it is like the sun itself in the sky. So second, the Sambhogaya we call enjoyment body, or this is like luminous from through which Buddha teach highly realized bodhisattvas. So bodhisattvas can receive teachings from with like it means like Sambhogaya. So the ordinary beings cannot usually like perceive this directly or receive teachings from Sambhogaya. It is like the rays of the sun traveling through like space. The sun ray of sun we can understand. And the Nirmanakaya or emanation body, this is the form that appears in the ordinary world to helping beings. For example, the Buddha Shakyamuni appearance in India is understood. We think it's a Nirmanakaya. So this can be compared to like I says solar power or electricity generated from the sun. even the sunlight cannot directly enter like basement or underground room. The solar energy can still reach the through electricity, right? Like electricity. So the Nirvanakaya is like solar power. So in the same way, enlightened wisdom manifests in like forms that ordinary beings can connect it with and benefit from Nirmanakaya. And why we call the Nirvana called the peace? Yeah, and then let us like give me like example. Imagine there's a huge pile of like garbage right outside of your home. Okay, see there? Mhm. The garbage creates many problems. Like it smells bad and it attracts insects and disease and it's block your space and ruin the environment. And now imagine you slowly begin cleaning it like piece by piece. That smells decrease and the environment become cleaner, and the space opens up. So finally, when every bit of garbage is removed, the problem naturally disappears. So you feel relief and openness and peace. In this example, the garbage represent the attachment and anger, hatred, jealous, and all the mental afflictions like created by self-grasping or wrong like cognitive or conceptual thoughts. So as as long as remain in the mind like yeah remain in mind, suffering continue, right? So when gradually we purify them through wisdom and meditation or ethical or contact, whatever, compassion or suffering begin to decrease. And when the afflictions are completely removed, what remains is peace. So this is the peace. And the the peaceful state free from grasping and mental suffering is called nirvana. So the nirvana is not like a place somewhere too far away, but it is the state of mind completely free from the confusion and afflictions. Yeah, so that's why nirvana is peace, they were called. Yeah, so these are the 4 Dharma seals and the essential points that define the Buddhist view. And first, all component things are impermanent. So it means everything changes moment by moment. And the second one, all the content phenomena are suffering as long as the mind is controlled by ignorance and grasping. Even the pleasant experience cannot give lasting satisfaction. And the third one is all phenomena are empty and selfless. So things do not exist in fixed and independent way they appear to us. And fourth, nirvana is peace. So when self-grasping afflictive emotions completely cease, the true peace become possible. Then, so the 4 seals are deeply connected to one another, because things are impermanent, transformations is possible, and because grasping creates suffering, we seek wisdom. Because phenomena are empty and self, liberation is possible. And when we grasping finally ends, nirvana, the true peace, is realized. So this is my presentation. Thank you. Yes.
I read there's the Heart Sutra in I study the like Zen Buddhism,
Mhm.
and then they have because there's a Chinese version, a Japanese version, also a Vietnamese and a Korean version. And then I noticed there's a section of that sutra that mentions nirvana. And then I saw that in the Korean translation, they use the word Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi.
Mhm.
Like it was like a Sanskrit or something. I don't know if that meant something different. Like Anuttara Samyak Sambodhi.
I don't really. Okay. Yeah, it's completely, yeah, become Latin.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just a completely awakened Buddha, like different levels of Buddhahood.
Yeah, that means, yeah, what I say, yeah, the three kayas. It's talking about the three kayas. The Yonsung Sanji, the complete awakened ones. Three, according to the Mahayana teaching, it's like three kayas. Yeah. Do you have any question or you want to share something? I mean, not a question. Yeah, you want to?
So when a bodhisattva helps beings, is that to a bodhisattva like going in? He knows that people are just dreaming, right?
Mhm.
Because there's no real suffering. It's their dreams.
Bodhisattvas?
Yeah. So does he go into their dreams and
But,
say, stop, shift?
oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true. Yes.
So that's what he does.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. They encourage you are dreaming
Yeah.
and wake up from the dreaming.
Okay.
Yeah. So the thing's not it is as you see. You are like dreaming. For example, in dream, there's no elephant. Yeah, we usually say, but in your room, there's no room for elephant, but you can dream elephant from your room. So we think there's nothing exists in front of us, but they appear to us. And when they become Buddha, then it's like become sun. Buddha maybe has no intention to help others, but they already like sun, they benefit, enlightened and beneficial. So people like open a window as much as you can, then you feel the sun like light in your window. If you close the window, maybe it can't come through your window like door. I don't know.
Well, I just wanted to mention a program I saw on TV about a week or two ago, and it was about the brain, and it was called Perception Deception. And I was able to Google it and see it again for free on my computer. And it was amazingly like what you've been describing, that things are not real. The things we think we see and hear, it's not what we think. And they've done all this research. And I said, whoa, this is what the Buddhists have been saying for a few thousand years. And this is just fairly recent, this research. Anyway, it's like you only see a little teeny part of what you think you see. The brain is kind of filling in what, you think you see the whole thing, you don't. You just maybe see a little teeny bit and you fill in the rest. The brain fills in the rest.
Yeah.
And it's not the reality. So it's amazing that it's so much like, what the Dharma teaches.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing this. Yeah. So thank you for coming. And I will end with like dedication prayer. Where's my prayer? Okay, so nam the tamje zikba nye tomne nyebe dana ma pamje ji ka nan chi balon du sibin so le ndo wa do show. Thank you.